All right, good morning. I'm going to call the Airport Authority meeting for August 10th to order. Welcome, everyone. First item of discussion today is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting from July 20th.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call vote.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
I haven't seen Mr.
Cosgrove.
Cosgrove on there
Capitan.
Aye.
Lynn.
Yes,
Aye.
I mean,
yet. Aye. The minutes stand approved as published. Item 2, approve the airport vouchers totaling $57,388.06.
motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call, please? Any discussion on those? All right, roll call,
Hagan.
please.
Aye.
Cosgrove. Capitan.
Yes.
Lynn.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye. Thank you. Those are done as well. Item 3, approve the individual vouchers. We have Alpha through Foxtrot. Want me to read them off? Anyone?
No, go ahead.
There's some
Motion.
big ones here associated with the cargo ramp. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion. Second.
And any discussion on any of these that you'd like to chat about? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgrove. Capitan.
Yes.
Lynn.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye. Like spending $3.5 million in stroke.
I know.
Right?
It's already spent.
Yeah. Oh.
What's that?
The work's already done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good work that has been done for those things as
Yeah,
well.
we
so.
changed up the order of the meeting a little bit, so Terry's got a commitment, so that's why we have some of this stuff at the top, so.
Okay.
Well, you want to jump in there? Let's do it.
So item 4.
Item
A lot of these
4, we see
change
these
orders
change orders.
have been pending for some time. They have been submitted to the FAA in terms of review for eligibility. We don't have a final FAA word on all of these yet in terms of eligibility. And what that does is it determines what account that the money comes out of, if it's through a federally eligible account or a non-eligible account, just for the internal accounting. So with that, Terry,
Yeah,
it's all yours.
so, so like Sean said, you know, a lot of these, especially the bigger ones are all gonna be going to the FAA and more than likely be approved, we believe. So the numbers are just a little off, I think probably just a confusion, but, so change order, number 3 on your agenda, is, $4,064, and it's a change in some metal material that we needed. So when we design buildings that are have special steel processes and kind of unique to that manufacturer, we have a number of manufacturers that bid it, and they all do it a little differently. And so what happened was the manufacturer that bid it and was low and approved and, you know, qualified to do it. Our details didn't work with their details very well, so we had to add some things, and that's what ended up costing us another $4,064. The next one is for $9,893, and that was actually at the existing structure. So when we came out, you know, we had a building that was already there. We actually, a couple of our engineers actually firms worked on that building. And so we didn't take any soil tests over there because the addition was pretty small. Well, we ended up running into some bad soil, and we had to remove that soil, and that's what ended up costing us to remove, and then we put in some more engineered fill at $9,893. The next one, change order 4 on your page, is additional pavement work. So if you remember when we were originally doing the project, we were kind of talking about redoing all the concrete out there. And then Jeff went, you know, I just don't think we need to do that. And I think just during the process of, you know, probably walking the project more often during construction and other things, we found places that Jeff just felt like we needed them to be replaced, and up here pavement is kind of the king, you know, so we just don't like having bad stuff. So there's a number of those that are in there. So the 29,330 is for additional pavement, and then the so is the 1643, and then there was additional base to do. Again, a little bit to do with how long ago that was done. There was some different base under it than we would have imagined, and so we ended up having to take some of that out and put some more engineered fill in for $8,400. I'm not sure, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure if we missed the grate on the pit or we were waiting for, I want to say we were waiting for a kind of determination on how big that grate needed to be, and so it wasn't in the original price. And so right now, if you went over to the service center, there's like a big pit in the middle of it that these guys go underneath and walk underneath the vehicle, and so they don't, because these vehicles are so heavy, they don't have to lift them, and they work on them. And then while they're on that end, they slide grates over the top of it so they don't fall into it. And I want to say we were just discussing the differences of what kind of gates we're going to, never got it on the spec, so we ended up getting one for $7,200. The 2000 change order 6, $2,326 is a request from the airport to do new ceiling tile. So if you remember, what we did in the existing structure is there's another one coming up here, I think. We relit it. We took the break room, put it in a new SRE. We took the old break room and converted it into offices. And there are a couple things there that, so once we painted everything, and then it was like, geez, the ceiling tile doesn't look so good, so let's take that out. So that's what that one was. The second one, the next one for 1629 is real, just plain and simple. We missed putting a floor back into it, and so we didn't have anything specified to redo the floor. We did have it in the demo plan to take it up, and so we needed to put a new floor down, and that cost $1,629. The change order 8 for $6,374 is a water line that wasn't shown on the engineering on the existing drawing. So we had a couple of things like that things just weren't documented back in the day, and sometimes obviously today we do a lot of as-built drawings. So typically we if they decide to move something for whatever reason, we document that, put that on a document, and it's much easier today because we actually can put on an electronic document. Back in the day, they didn't. They just moved, and then again, it's like anything in construction. They thought they had a better idea in the field, and they put it in a different spot, and so it wasn't where we thought it was going to be. The 30,761 again. That one will go to the FAA, and that was the redesign of the water retention pond. And it got much larger, and then it got complicated because there were other things in the way that we had to deal with. So we're still scratching our head on why we had to have that one, but
But that was a requirement, right?
yeah, by the city,
No.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And we had one in, we just didn't have as big a one.
As big a one
they
as
wanted.
needed, right.
So, the ADA dishwasher, so that's, so today in the world of doing designs of any kind of sink, so bathrooms are super easy because we just, we've been doing those forever. In the past few years, we have had to go to, you can do like a kitchen sink, and because what we try to do is leave the cabinets underneath it, so we have storage and all that kind of stuff for a break room. You do a side approach, and if you do a side approach, so that means you're not putting your knees underneath the counter, and it still has to be at the same height. But in the kitchen, they'll allow you to have the cabinet, but it's got to be, the sink's got to be at 34 inches. So, for instance, that vanity right there is 36 inches. That's typical. That's what's at probably 99% of all your kitchens, unless you have some custom thing done. So you can see with the laminate and stuff, it gets to be really messy to just drop the sink, and so we drop the whole counter. And to be honest with you, we're just trying to get used to doing that, and we ended up specifying a normal dishwasher, and this is the difference between normal and an ADA type dishwasher. So normal dishwasher goes under a 36-inch sink, but they make a dishwasher that goes under a 34-inch counter, and it's $791 more.
So is that for, just a general question, is that for businesses too?
That's for what?
Businesses?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So businesses have
Yeah.
to do the ADA
Yeah.
whenever,
Yeah. So like when we just did the new city hall, every counter that has a sink in it
34
is at
inch.
34 inches.
Okay.
Because it's such a messy detail, and then
Yeah.
people, what happened is people set things on the edge and they drop over,
sure.
and so, in fact, they weren't happy with it, and they're the code people, so, I mean, it's just, but that's just what you have to do. And it's a little inconvenient, you know, honestly, Tammy, you totally like it because you're not that tall.
I was thinking this is really good.
But you get a 6'2" guy,
Oh, yeah.
and he feels like
He's
he's
filled.
scratching his knees to
Yeah.
get at a sink, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it is. So,
Oh.
and we just missed it, and I got Joe to just take it out of our set, so it's
Yeah.
not in there as a normal one anymore. Because we hardly do normal ones, because again, we're not doing houses very often. And,
Yeah.
and businesses everywhere. Those are the general ones. Mechanical, that $17,000, $17,980. That is a tank issue that we had on would be the northwest corner of the existing facility. They had a waste oil tank, and of course everything's paved around there. And so again, records didn't really show how big or deep necessarily it was, and then our engineers put our new waste oil tank, and of course it was bigger because we're getting more equipment, so we wanted it larger. They put it close to the building because obviously they're thinking, the less piping, whatever. Well, we had a door going out of there, and we missed it, and our mechanical engineers probably didn't even see it. But so any door in a commercial building is going to open out from an egress perspective, and so we always put a stoop underneath it. In other words, we put footing around it and come out with a pad that's roughly, I'm just going to say 4x4 roughly. And then that way, that concrete will never go up and down, so that door never gets stuck to egress the building. And so they had it close enough to that door, again, thinking, it's underneath the concrete. So we had to over excavate for the existing tank, and then we had to move the big tank because we were in that zone of the stoop, and we had to put it in even deeper. So we had to put it farther away, which meant we cut more concrete, and we also had to be farther away because we couldn't undermine the footings of the new addition. So that was a $17,900. And I'm not sure, Jeff, are we gonna send that one to FAA when it's on the new facility or on the addition?
17,980?
The new addition or not?
Yeah, it could go to the FAA.
Yeah,
It-
okay.
it's-
Okay.
It's probably, if it's gonna be eligible to be at the addition threshold, which is roughly 45%.
Right, yeah. And then the last one, the electrical, $558.72 was our, we missed a strobe in the bathrooms, so we had to add a strobe in the bathroom. How we track, and this is all the documentation for every change order, and what we try to do is track. We try to track our change orders just to try to keep track of us in terms of how we're doing. So total overall change orders, and again, so we had, we'd almost consider like a lot of Jeff's change orders for concrete and stuff almost like a owner requested, because he really is, the rep for the owner, and guys, again, concrete is, we're finding that out with building contractors that they don't really understand how important concrete is out there. And so we track it. We would typically tell our owners to figure somewhere between 5 and 10% of the building cost for change orders, because I always say that if Jesus did your building, there wouldn't be any, but we're not Jesus. So, we typically stay under 5%. I don't think we've ever been over 5% unless we have a lot of owner requested change orders, and we're at right now 3% on all of our change orders on this building. 31% of them were unforeseen, so that's the stuff that we didn't know was underground and we had to do things. And then about 53% are the added concrete and all those kind of things that we did from a civil perspective. So overall though, we're only 3%. So we feel we're always, if we are under 5, always feel really good. And a lot of times, depending on if, say for instance, if we weren't an airport, a lot of those concrete things probably wouldn't have happened because most people wouldn't have cared. We'd probably be in more like the 2% range pretty easily. So we feel pretty good about our change order record, and we're right there with it. So.
Okay, can I get a motion for the approval of, a motion for these, and then we'll open up discussion?
Someone.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Tammy?
Yeah, one of the things that and this has been going on for a long time. Every one of these change orders, I have to applaud you guys, because every one of them I remember discussions on, and I remember the ceiling tiles. I remember a lot of this, and the pavement issues, and so even though they look like large numbers, I remember we talked about. I think I probably remember every one of these in a meeting that we talked
Yeah, we did.
about.
And in fact, the concrete ones, Jeff beat up on it. He saw the numbers and he went, no, this is not right.
Yeah.
So we actually went through the trouble of calculating how much we did before, what the bid was, and how did that look. And so we obviously understand that, when we get a change order, we're going to pay a little more than a bid price. And so Jeff hounded those guys for quite some time and got those down. In fact, I have the numbers that we got them down. Got them down significantly.
That's great.
I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but the change order for the concrete started at roughly $60,000. So what I had done is I had taken, the bid price and kind of figured, this is a lump sum contract. So I kind of estimated square yard bid price, even though it was a lump sum, and it was X number of dollars, and their change order price was over double that. So, I'm working with them to show them, why doesn't this add up, and eventually we whittled it down to what it is here.
Yeah,
So,
actually, Jeff got 2 change orders completely dismissed that added up to $29,000, and then got so that was 29 grand, got it down to 16.
That's great.
And 32 grand, got it down to 29 something. So yeah, we and we do that on anything. We have our engineers, mechanical, electrical, and then we do the same thing on general. Is say, is this a fair price? Is it not? And of course, with the FAA rules, and we need to explain that to them and how we verified that. So So we actually had to document that part of it, where typically we would just, talk to the contractor and say, we need to talk about this, and, So typically, we would never give an owner a change order until we felt it was what it was supposed to be. But we document it, we document everything that comes into our office. So there was several that we had the electrical engineer pay for. We paid for a hardware one that they had ordered and it was totally wrong and would have cost you more money. We paid almost $1,000 for that because it really was our fault. And it doesn't, it's not, so in a change order, it's supposed to be added value or something, if I should have, so we designed this room with that TV there, and we didn't have an outlet and didn't have an outlet and a data jack in there, that's a legitimate change order because you would have had to pay for that anyway. But if I would have, we had the TV there and we had the outlets over there, then we would pay for that to move them over because they weren't in the right spot. Because it doesn't add any value to you. So that's how.
Any other discussion? Okay, can I get a roll call vote on approval of the change orders 3 through 10? Well, and 2 through 3 through 10 for Meineke Johnson Company, Northern Plains Mechanical, and Rickard Electric.
Engen.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Gavatan.
Yes.
Lynn.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So do you want to give an update on where we're at with finalizing the building, Terry?
Basically we're waiting for a mechanical punch list to be done, and evidently there is, from what I understand, there's very little to do on that. I believe the electrical one is done. So they've seeded, they finished the dirt work, they hydro seeded, which Jeff and I are kind of questioning whether you would hydro seed right now in a drought. And I don't know. I'm gonna do some research and see if that just, will it just come back once it finally germinates. So that's the only thing, is it haven't even had a chance to germinate because we haven't had any rain. We had a retaining wall for the generator because of the way the dirt is sloped up on the existing building, so that's completed. The appliances are done. So we're waiting. So about the only thing we have left is got to get a confirmation that they've done the punch list on the mechanical, and then Jeff's going to be working with Meineke and Cash Concrete to redo their stuff again.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Terry? Thank you, Terry. Item number 5, airport construction and security update.
Jeff, you want to go in the cargo apron?
Cargo
Yeah,
apron.
Cargo Apron is going great. They are still on track to be done by the 3rd of September. All the concrete paving will be done by the end of this week. And then beyond that, they just have to get taxiway edge lights in, some apron lighting, the high mast lighting, some fencing, and just kind of joint seal, just kind of odds and ends. So they'll be done by the 3rd of September. The one issue that I feel that we're going to run into is, just given the drought conditions, is just dealing with all the seeding and just getting it to grow and holding the erosion down. So I had met with Northern Improvement yesterday to come up with a plan to add some temporary mulching just to hold the erosion down now, and then hopefully we'll come back later in October or November and do the dormant seeding and cross our fingers, and hopefully it comes up in the springtime. So just, it's no one's fault, it's just kind of the conditions where everyone's dealing with here, so.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Thank you.
Okay. Right. Item number 6, receive proposal contract from Mead and Hunt to prepare access control system upgrade for a fee of $87,980.
Okay, Jeff is here. This is something that we've been chatting about on and off at our board meetings, at our access control system. Some of it dates back to the early 1990s, old cable that runs around the airport and allows you proximity access through this terminal, cargo apron, North GA, South GA, and then with the gates. And we've had multiple conversations, I guess, with Honeywell, who basically the software we have is done. If we want to find parts for some of the gate access readers, we literally are looking on eBay to get those. So it's just time to upgrade this access control system, and Jeff's put together a plan to help us with that.
Yep. And then I'll also add the intention would be to put the cost of this upgrade into the airport's CARES development addendum, so it would be paid for. And then I also have Mike DeVault is in Zoom land. He works for Mead & Hunt down in Minneapolis, and this is what he does, access control systems for airports. So I don't know, Mike, if you want to add anything in detail about what this will all entail.
Yeah, so thanks, Jeff. Kind of the gist of it is we're gonna look at some potential solutions and see what additional benefits we can gain by doing access control and video surveillance together in one platform. And then the bulk of it is really designing the cameras and card readers and putting the systems together. And then kind of the big unknown at this point is new security systems are very IT dependent. Cameras are like little computers on the network now. And so we'll have to coordinate heavily with your IT group. And I know there's some changes going on there. So I made some assumptions as far as scope of IT, but we're assuming that we're going to have to do some amount of fiber and switches out to gates and things like that. But then we're planning on coordinating pretty heavily with the group that's going to be making your IT.
Okay, and then correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I believe this would be like a design this fall and winter, and then begin construction in the spring as weather permits.
Yeah.
Or even sooner for interior.
Yeah, so the design is probably a 2 to 3 month process. So we can either start right away, we can time it so that we're digging outside in the spring.
Okay.
I think some of that depends on the timeline of our IT transition too, so we can coordinate with that.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to get too far ahead of that. So whatever that timeline is.
Okay, so Jeff, the $87,980 is for, what is that for? It's not for the equipment, it's for you to be the general contractor, right?
That'd be the design of the system, and then we would send it out for bid, and then, we would get a price.
Okay.
Obviously for construction.
All right. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on the contract? Mead & Hunt.
First, I'm really excited that we're going to have the security or the camera system up with it too. I think that's, I hate to say it, but it's going to be really smart to have that.
It's 2021.
I know.
About time we had some cameras.
I know.
Long overdue.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgriff.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. And item 7, still back to Jeff here for the contract for Mead & Hunt to conduct a passenger terminal area study for $584,131.
Thing I'll mention is this contract would have been approved prior to the pandemic, but the FAA seized all of these, so this has been in the hopper for a little over a year now, and now they're bringing it back to us with the scope. The FAA's approved the scope twice now,
Okay.
and what you have before you is the plan to hopefully lead us to a major expansion of the terminal building, upgrade some amenities for food and beverage, restrooms, and additional ground service equipment, parking for the carriers, which would include the icing truck parking space and so forth. So,
Right. So again, this project would be covered through the airport's CARES development addendum. And like Sean said, we were well on our way on getting this scope approved prior to the pandemic, and then the brakes got put on, applied. And now it's come to light again. So we'd be looking at, you know, expanding the terminal to the east, adding extra gates. You know, like Sean said, food and beverage concessions, you know, ticket counter, you know, all kinds of different upgrades. And I have on the line are Matt Doobie and Mary Schaefer. They're also down in Minneapolis. They'll be doing, you know, the bulk of the work on this, so they can explain it in more detail. And I guess the goal of this would be to get it done, you know, within, you know, that 8 to 10 month time frame from now, so we can position the airport for any potential money that would become available from the FAA for terminal projects. So this study needs to be done before we can start any design work on any physical modifications to the terminal. So I don't know, Matt or Mary, if you want to add to that.
Certainly. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, as Jeff mentioned, basically the FAA requires that you have a usable quantity of work before you move forward on with the terminal modernization plan. And that's exactly what this does. It's a drill down from the master plan findings. It talks about financial analysis. It talks about revenue generation pieces, passenger boarding bridge, aircraft movement, hold room sizing. And then also the FAA has asked us to take a look at post-pandemic impacts to terminals and how they affect the passenger experience. And then ultimately we'll look at other things, ADA compliance, things that have changed since the master plan was approved in 2018. So it's largely a drill down to get a very specific and an understanding of what the construction cost will be for the options that we'll present.
Hey, Mary, did you have anything to add?
Nothing specific. I think you mentioned it would be about a 8 to 10 month period. We expect it to be about 10 months. And we do need to have an independent fee evaluation done prior to us being able to get started.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This does include all the boring samples of the subject area as well?
Soil borings, I don't believe that is on here. I don't believe that was part of the.
Soil borings would be an additional piece.
I think it's on the
It can be added in.
It can be added in.
Why wouldn't that be necessary to
Or it
understand
could
the
just
ground?
be included as part of the actual design for the terminal building.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, traditionally, the soil borings would not be a part of a study.
You know, didn't we already, I'm looking at the options that aren't in the scope of work. Didn't we already have an air, this one's not included, but didn't we have an air quality study already?
Yes, and
Okay,
that's
so-
underway. Yeah.
So that's why it's not
We met
included.
yesterday morning on that.
Okay.
We're moving forward.
Quick question, is there a deadline for the CARES addendum, the CARES money?
We still have about 3 years left to
3
spend
years?
those funds.
Perfect, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other further discussion?
No. Motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And roll call vote, please.
Engen.
Aye.
Bosworth.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. Approved, thank you. Item 8, receive bid tabulations and recommendations for award from SP Plus to replace the parking access control and revenue system.
Okay, I see Brad McAllister is on. Brad, I think you're going to need control, correct, to share a...
Correct, yeah. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Brad and his team were here last week
Very good.
on Wednesday and Thursday conducting another passenger survey, so they'll be back again in December, so I think they got really good numbers on that, so. So Darren will get you set up here, Brad, to allow you to host.
Okay, I've requested to share. Just let me know when you can see my presentation. Just a few slides for you guys this morning.
That should be it.
Did you get it, Brad?
Yes, sir.
We cannot see your stuff.
Can you see my slides?
No, we cannot.
Oh, sees your
Let
name.
me make sure I requested. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. Okay.
There you go.
How about now?
Yes.
We're good.
All right, very good. Thanks for your time and attention this morning, everyone. As you know, we've been working on managing an RFP process to replace the current parking access and revenue control system. I think we all know the reasons for the need for an upgrade there at Fargo Airport. We have concluded the RFP process. We collected 5 proposals from 5 different vendors. One of them is Amando, who is the current parks equipment provider at Fargo Airport. The other 4 are Designa, Flash Parking, Ski Data, and TIBA. And at SP Plus, we're familiar with all of these vendors. We do work with all of them across our portfolio here in the US. We would like to officially recommend an award for Flash Parking. The recommendation is really based on price competitiveness, system features, functionality, all of the sort of modern features that you would expect out of a new and future-proof parking access and revenue control system for airports. Obviously, durability in extreme and cold weather climates like you experienced there in Fargo during the winter season. And then support resources and location of that support arm in proximity to Fargo Airport played a role as well. Just wanted to share with you how the pricing sort of broke out between these 5 vendors. The base cost is up top. The second row there is extended warranty and preventative maintenance. When you look at the total system cost line in red, we're really looking at a 7-year total life cycle cost for these systems. Flash Parking was not the cheapest, but they were not the most expensive either. And I think we certainly liked the install duration estimate from this vendor as well, allowing us to install and go live with this system a little bit sooner than we could with the other systems as well. And before I move on, just want to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you have. Obviously, I can provide this presentation to you, and then if you're interested, obviously can share the entire sort of price proposal documents, and you can see how the cost kind of breaks out per lot. If you'd like to get into that detail, certainly happy to share that with you as well.
Any questions?
This does meet the Buy American requirement. They did bid with Davis-Bacon prevailing wage rates, so we will be able to recover that through the CARES grant.
Yeah.
Went live last week.
Yeah, I
Go ahead,
did do quite a bit of due diligence over the last couple of weeks and calling around to some operations, both airport and commercial, where the Flash parking system has been installed. Flash has been around since 2011, but they're sort of, one of the newer parking access control vendors in the market. But they've deployed a number of devices across the U.S. at the airports. We've worked with them very closely on a large multi-campus Amazon project in Seattle. Very recently, it went very well. One of the things we really like about this company is the support and dedication we receive upfront during the installation and transition from the old system to the new system. There's a lot of work involved in that, and we believe Flash has done a very good job with that. Spoke with the airport in Minot. Very happy. They've only had this for a couple of weeks so far, so they're very new. They just installed it, but they've been very happy with the vendor and the functionality of the equipment so far. The customers seem to really enjoy the ease of use of the devices as well. This is also installed in Quad Cities, Aspen Airport as well. So other cold weather climates. We know it's extreme weather rated up to -20 below. They do have support centers based in Bismarck and Minneapolis, but they're also currently talking with a local service provider in Fargo as well, which would really help us out locally there if we have that need to address any issues, technological or otherwise. Obviously, we had to make sure and had to have 100% confidence that the system would be compatible, with an online reservation program that's already been approved and that we're working on implementing for Fargo airport parking customers. The system will include barcode readers, improving that contactless experience for parkers in terms of entry and exit into the lots. Ability to interface with a corporate and frequent parker program. That's a program that we committed to providing in our proposal when we renewed our contract a few years ago, and just needed a real new equipment platform to stand that program up on. So we're excited to get moving with that along with this new system. Ability to integrate with our resource management system. So this is a system that allows customers to communicate with a remote call center, particularly useful on the overnight hours when we may not have staff on location at the property. The call center can assist customers at the lane, can also push rates to the exit devices and bend gates remotely as well. It really allows for that increased automation and a little more flexibility in terms of operation for our management team as well, who can have the ability to bend gates remotely via their mobile application or mobile phone. Quickly, obviously, this system is full payment card industry compliant. Does have all of those new features and functionality in terms of payment options and access control options for parkers. You can pay with Apple or Samsung Pay on your phone. Also, the ability to integrate with our own on-demand pay by phone gate kit system, which we'd like to install at Fargo as well. And this is just another frictionless option for the customers to access the lot and pay with their phones without actually touching anything. So through some signage, they're able to bend the gate with their phone, pay for parking on an app on their phone, and then when they exit, they see another sign and they call another number and the gate exits as long as they haven't overstayed their parking fee. So very cool technology, very new, and I think appropriate for a new future-proof system. Also, it is CARES funding qualified. So this is one of the only vendors that is qualified to do that. They are entirely based in the U.S. and everything is manufactured in the U.S. as well. We did require any awardee for this system to provide a performance bond equal to 100% of the base system cost. So this, I think, it just allows for a mechanism to protect Fargo Airport and their new parking access and revenue control asset, and really ensures proper attention and urgency of the vendor. Given any issues, any threat of pulling a performance bond, will really get the attention of any parks vendor. If we need that, that would really prevent them from being able to bid on projects like this in the future. So I think that's the importance of having the performance bond. There's an annual cost for it here above and beyond the pricing that was provided in the proposals. But we thought it was very important to include that, seeing as how it's a brand new system, and we just want to make sure that the airport's taken care of in terms of this investment. And that's it. Any questions?
It's exciting.
Yeah, I think we're well overdue for the parking
Yep.
system to be upgraded, as we've had numerous problems with the existing system breaking down and being non-functional during the poor weather portions of our year, and that really affects our customer experience as they come to the airport. So I'm really looking forward to getting this going. So my question was, you had 35 to 40 days of implementation for flash parking. What is that based on?
So that's, once a contract is signed, that's really, speaking to the ability to, procure and deliver the equipment, order the equipment. So, I think, what we're looking at, and I know they have put a timeline in their proposal, it's really going to depend on, how quickly, the system can be procured and the contract signed. Once that moves forward, I think that's when that 40 to 45 days begins. And I think, our hope is to have the system installed and live, at some point in mid to late October, would be my hope.
Yes, that's kind of what I was getting at as well. I mean, the weather is, we all know it's coming, and tick tock. So we're wasting time here just thinking about this. So anyway, I'm going to open the, can I get a motion and a second for, to open it up, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. And any discussion from any of the board members? Nothing heard. Anybody else? Okay, let's go roll call vote, please.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye.
Lind.
Absolutely. Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Item 9, receive proposal for proposed parking lot exit plaza and consider selection of architectural firm and an alternate firm.
Okay, we received 2 responses to the request for qualifications from architects. You have both of those. One was T.L. Stroh, the other was Muchler. It said that we would pick a primary and an alternate, so with only 2 firms, I was surprised. I thought we would get more. But with that, I guess my recommendation is that you would select T.L. Stroh as the primary and Muchler as the alternate for the design of the exit plaza project that we've discussed here in past meetings.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? I have a discussion item. I would actually like to throw a wrench in the system. Darren, can you pull up that slide real fast? And this might be off topic, but we're kind of on the topic, so.
I have a point I want to bring up too.
So this is just a picture straight out of Terry's proposal here of our existing parking lot. Stand by. This is our existing parking lot, and you make it a little larger. And we have the existing parking plaza there, and kind of my biggest problem that we have is that we ran out of parking spaces last year, right before pandemic. And in an effort to try and find a new place to put more parking closer to the terminal, I think if we were to move the existing plaza to that red square kind of at the end of the, we'll call it the boulevard, where everybody just, where all the traffic is naturally supposed to go, we could pave that area where the existing plaza is. And I asked Jeff, Jeff gave us a proposal last year on how to get some more parking spaces, and he said we could get roughly 140 parking spaces out of that current parking area, and that would give our customers 140 more spaces that are closer to the terminal instead of having to go out to that eastern parking area. So I would just like to kind of open the floor for discussion as to pros and cons of maybe moving it. I know Sean had said he doesn't like the idea of the traffic going right onto Dakota Drive where it has to turn right away to enter that, but I think the benefits outweigh any. I mean, you got to turn anyway as soon as you get out there. So we would probably obviously lose some parking spaces that are immediately adjacent to the new location. We'd lose a handful of them right there. But what do you guys think? What,
Mr. Chair?
yes.
My only question is, we're coming onto basically a two-lane road. Are we gonna then have to expand that east-west road to accommodate through traffic and cross traffic?
Well, you're coming onto a two-lane road already, so, but it is
No,
one way
it's
though.
one-
It's one.
one way.
One way,
One
okay.
way.
Yeah, you're right. Good question.
That's my only concern. The problem with cross traffic is people are scrambling, they just left, and now they're entering cross traffic.
I would say, just in my opinion, and this is just opinion, uneducated opinion, but there's not a lot of traffic on that road. There's not a lot of people. I drive on it when I leave the parking lot and I go out there, and I'm usually the only one out there except some Uber drivers sitting and waiting in that little spot there. But the other thing that I had thought about was we had talked about moving all the utilities from the current spot and how much it would cost to move it to the other spot. I asked Jeff if he could give me a ballpark number, and totally a wild guess, but he said right around $50,000 to move the sewer, the water, the phone, and the electrical over there. But I think that if you were to take our parking revenue divided by the 2,000 spaces we have, roughly each space gives about $2,200 a year in parking revenue. If we were to add 140 spaces, and assuming that you got the $2,000 a piece, you're looking at about $150,000 a year. So the $50,000 to move the system over there would be offset by the increased revenue potentially. So that was.
I think first I remember the conversations last year about it, and I think, and then they abruptly stopped because of all that was going on. But I'd be interested in seeing that. Probably a bigger question to me is, what will it cost to
pave that area?
And
It's not
number
free
one,
either.
would that be, I know we'll have additional revenue because of the parking spaces. Are there any other fund sources that we could, get to help out with that? Or is that just because it's parking, it's really?
Well, it could be eligible for a development addendum within our CARES, but
Okay,
we probably won't have much left with some other
Okay.
stuff that we're doing there, but it's certainly possible.
okay.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Yep.
again, I go back to the current roadway, that cross roadway.
Mhm.
With the additional traffic, will it require another lane? Because then you're,
Yeah.
now that's a feeder full of traffic. Is that gonna require another lane or two,
Mhm.
both directions? And then what would the cost of that be as well?
And maybe, I hate to do studies on that stuff.
Well, I think this is the time to do it though, because
Yeah.
if we're gonna pay $1 million to move,
Yeah,
to
no.
build a new parking plaza, I think it behooves us to try and figure this out now.
Do a
And then-
traffic study or.
We have the land there to do it.
Yep.
If there has to be 4 lanes and a turn lane or a
Yep.
cross lane.
And the other piece is, if you build the new plaza in the new spot, you continue to use the old plaza until the new one is
The new one's
completed, and then it is a seamless transition over, and we are never without a parking plaza, exit plaza, excuse me.
I think the other thing we had talked about previously was expanding the parking across as well.
To the other side,
And, then, yeah, definitely, I think we should look at expansion of the roads. But I know that's quite a ways off, but maybe not.
Peanut gallery, what do you guys have? Jeff is probably gonna be instrumental on this, so I
Yeah,
wanna get your
my-
opinion.
Thoughts are racing through my head. Yeah, you're gonna lose some spots, if you put it at the south end, and then, Mead and Hunt can take a look at, what would need to be done for handling any turn lanes, that kind of thing, and to give you a better assessment of what additional costs there may or may not be, so.
We do have some boulevards, some grassy boulevardy area to work with as well,
Yeah.
so. I just wanna have this discussion
Yeah.
now before we are like, oh man, it would've been nice to move that earlier, when we're looking for more parking in another 2 years. Yes, Mr. Captain?
Well, I brought that exact thing up here when I first got on board, but I think I was told that the cost of moving all the substructure was cost prohibitive, so I dropped it.
Uh-huh,
But I kinda like it the way you got it there.
okay. I think the cost of moving the, if it's $1 million and it costs $50,000 to move the stuff, I think it's
Yeah.
it's less than 10%.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's
But I
that's
think
kind of the
it's
idea
worth-
I have. So
Excuse me, I think it's worth the study to find out whether, like Richard said, whether we need additional turn lanes and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
Is that worth at least looking at?
Mhm.
okay.
I agree.
So when you exit the exit plaza, it's like being at a bank in the automated lane. So you get 3 lanes if you go to the bank.
Mhm.
And when you come out to the end, when you're done, well, somebody over here wants to go that way and somebody here wants to go that way. So you got
Okay.
crisscross traffic
Yep,
when you
yep.
go through a bank drive-through. It's no different. So it all depends on, of course, if you have a 1-2 lane road, so maybe some people, are they gonna go back up to the terminal? Because you will have some
To
of
pick
that
up some
traffic.
people.
You're gonna have people that will exit the lot, wanna go to the left to go to the terminal to pick people up.
Yep.
And obviously, you're gonna have people go to the right, come to Dakota Drive to exit the airport, so
It needs to be studied.
crisscross
And
traffic.
it usually is congested.
Yeah.
When people are leaving, it's not one at a time. It's usually a herd of them
Mhm.
leaving.
Yeah, so managing, so it's gonna be the person that's gonna be in the west lane that wants to exit and then take a left.
Take a
You're gonna have a
left.
person that's in the left lane that's gonna exit and wanna go to right.
Yeah.
That-
So it has
That's
to
the
be
mess that
managed.
you're gonna be dealing with, that there is no solution for. Unless you do right turns only and then send them all the way down to 19th and then come
Mhm.
back up. That doesn't work either.
Yeah.
See, now when you exit the lane, if you wanna come back to the terminal, you got a short drive to go around
Mhm.
to come back up.
Hmm.
I don't know how you mitigate people that.
Courtesy.
Well,
Just be courteous
it's-
first.
it's
You know
gonna
what?
be- It's gonna be an absolute mess.
How about even putting it closer so they'd still have, well,
It's
So
just
So if you're gonna
extended
maintain
it
3
there.
exit lanes, it's gonna be
Yeah.
the person that's gonna be in the east lane that wants to go to the right, and the person that's gonna be in the west lane that wants to go to the left.
yeah.
You're gonna be constantly pushing traffic towards each
Mhm.
other, and there's no
There's
mitigation
no
for that,
mitigation.
none,
You'd have to funnel them down to a single lane exit point.
which is gonna back it up.
Then it's gonna back it up.
So
Which
that
is single
chews up
exit
more
lane now.
Parking stalls within the existing
Yeah,
lot footprint.
it's gonna take more
Yeah.
stalls out, so what your
Mhm.
net is gonna be, so if you have 140 spaces there, your net is gonna be significantly less as far as usable spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cost for that is what you have to take into consideration, so.
Mhm.
So, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Then is there a consideration, or if we had the conversation, is it worth moving that east-west road south further, another 250 feet? Can that be done, or is that?
Can be done for a lot of money. yeah.
Well, yes, I
Yeah,
know, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying, if the necessity of it is that has to be there.
You know, and I'm gonna go back to what Mr. Cosgrove said. We're kind of building for the future. So we got to kind of look at what, not necessarily just what works today, but what it's going to work for the next 20 years. So I just want to kind of have this conversation, come up with a good plan. Maybe not come up with an agreement today, but I want to at least put the bug in everybody's ear and get the plan moving forward. So, okay. So getting back on topic here. We were supposed to receive the proposal for the parking plaza and consider the architectural firm. Can we get a motion
We did. and I-
okay, we got the motion and this is the discussion point.
I just wanted to point out that, Muchler, really, they have an impressive portfolio. And I was really happy that they submitted this because I think it really exposed us. And, it's just always nice to be able to get competitive information in their National Guard information. The support that and their experience with the National Guard was good. And it sounds like they had a lot of parking lots, and so I just wanted to point out that I was impressed with their with their proposal as well.
Yeah, they had done some extensive work with the
They're a
guard.
good firm, and we're
Yep.
blessed to have a lot of good architectural firms in our
Yep.
region, so.
And I did rate, though, my ratings were just a little higher first row.
Okay. We at the roll call vote phase here
Yep.
for the architects.
Hangan,
Aye.
Cosgrove,
Aye.
Capitan,
Aye.
Lynn,
I,
Lynn.
All right. Thank you for entertaining that for me here. So item 10, yeah, go ahead. Oh,
Mr. Chairman, I guess you're gonna get to item 10 there, but are we gonna make a suggestion that we consider studying your proposal?
yes, we'll get it here in 10. Item 10 is I would like to discuss expanding the scope of the parking plaza design and include some covered parking spaces. So Darren, can you pull that sheet up one more time, and that picture up one more time? So I'm sorry for everybody in Zoom land who can't see our picture. I would assume that you can't, but you know, when I interviewed for this position to be on the airport authority, one of the hot topics was to have a parking ramp here in Fargo, and I empathize with our customers who, you know, I travel extensively and I go all over the country and I see parking ramps all over the place, and if not parking ramps, covered parking. And I've come home many a time in the winter time, and my car is blowed in, you know, and there's a drift on it, or my flight attendant that I was working with has to then, wearing dress shoes and nylons, has to walk through the snow and dig her car out as well. And that always kind of struck me as, hey, we can do better. So one of my things that since we have already decided that a parking ramp isn't necessarily economically feasible, and they tend to lose an enormous amount of money very quickly, I would like to do something more scalable, where we put a covered parking area where we can keep the hail off of people's cars while they're away on vacation in the summertime, and keep the snow from inundating their vehicles in the winter. So so the alternate to having a parking ramp is to have a covered parking area, and that's far more scalable. We can choose to cover 50 spaces or 100 spaces, or and we can do it as growth and demand requires it, and it's far more economical than puking out $50 million for a parking ramp. So I would like to kind of, in the same scope of things that I'm going to get up here, and just propose that, hey, we try and put a sunshade or a cover of some sort over the short-term area. It already costs more to park there. We can even raise the rate just a little bit to try and offset it. If we covered 100 spaces here or 100 spaces over there, or whatever we want to do, then it is far more economical to spend $2 or $5 million than it is to spend 50. So this was my kind of idea, and that I would like you to consider adding this parking exit plaza to the project, and asking the architects to figure out how much that would actually cost to do that. We're not necessarily dedicating the money at this point, we're just trying to figure out how much would it cost to get something like that here in Fargo. What questions do you guys have?
Mr. Chair, one is covered parking is a great idea, but you still have to do snow removal of the space within.
Yes.
Which is going to be the constraint, is the size of equipment the facility has to remove snow.
Yes, and it would probably have to have walls on it, to be honest with you, for to keep the blowing snow out, because our snow doesn't
But
always
as
come
well
straight
as the
down.
height of it too,
Yep.
for the current equipment we have.
So that would be part of the thing. Get the engineers and the architects to say, hey, this is how we're going to keep the snow out of this area. We're probably going to have some snow removal, but if you did it right, you could probably have a bobcat do it instead of having a excavator do it. So.
And it would have to be designed to take the snow load too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
So
these
you're
things.
back to a concrete structure for the most part.
Well, yeah, but you get a snow load on top, you don't want that thing coming down.
This is, I have no problem with that. I think, I want to make sure that the scope of work for the exit was different. And I just want to make sure we're legally doing this without just slipping it in, because it was actually not in the scope of work. And we could have, could we have had more proposals if we added this? So I'm just putting it out there, because I want to make sure we're doing ethically and legally what we're supposed to do. I don't mind this, I like it, but
Like the project, you just want to have a different bid for it.
well, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm kind of uncomfortable with that, just because the scope of work for that we just awarded was different than this.
Okay,
I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts? I mean, I'm the one that's really picky when it comes to legal. And maybe I need to ask Stacy. What do you think, Stacy?
I think that when you put out an RFP or a request for a proposal, defining the scope of work, and that's when you receive, I think you're running into some hot water by simply adding further scope of work when you're awarding this. So my druthers would be that another RFP be put out.
It was actually a request for qualifications, not a request for proposals.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the qualifications of an architectural firm regardless of the project.
Yeah, it was.
It's a difference between
It's a
a
difference.
proposal versus qualifications.
Right.
So it's the qualifications of the firm.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Well, would we have received more if we would have added this? I don't know. And like I said, I'm asking, I know that they're highly qualified to do it. I just want to make sure that we have this discussion, we're all on board with that, so.
discussion on the floor?
I think we should separate the two out. And there may have been additional architectural firms submitting for their qualifications if that was in play. I do think we should allocate for a study of what type of structure, because I don't think we know what type of structure, height, materials, and spend some money to understand what would work or what works in other parts of the world for single-story secure or covered parking.
Well, and that, if we put it separately, there might be other firms that weren't comfortable with the exit, but are much more adept at exactly
Yeah.
the structure,
Mhm.
so.
Okay. So where do we sit here? So we need a we need two things here. We need a new study for the covered parking, and then we need a study for the moving the exit terminal as well. Yes?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I move that,
Okay, we haven't voted on, I'm sorry, we did.
we did, okay. Would that new study for the exit, couldn't that just be done by the ones at Strode that we just approved? Or is that not in their capabilities?
That'd be with SP Plus and Mead and Hunt.
Okay,
So that would be fine. Covered parking is something new.
no, yeah,
So you'd have to do an RFQ for, I don't know how you go about that, a study on covered parking concepts and design.
yeah.
I really don't know.
Well, I'll move that we do RFQ to meet the qualifications to design covered parking as per, just for approximately 100 spaces
Okay.
in the location close in short-term parking.
Okay.
That leaves it open enough that if you have specific verbiage that you want to put in, you could do that.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so the relocation, possible relocation of the ticket and change booth, Mead and Hunt can do separate and concurrent
SP Plus.
with what they're doing now. And this is exclusive to a covered facility for 100 spots. Is that or at least 100
At
spots?
least 100, yeah.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go for it.
Mr. Chairman, just clarification there on the limitations. I'm not sure I've got them all. To exceed 100 spots, there were a couple other suggestions there. Could you just kind of enumerate what we're going to limit there in the RFQ?
Well, let's put forth a request for qualifications and a kind of a bid for 100 spaces, and then you can always
the
do
design.
it for the design, and then if you so choose at a later point, you can choose to do another 100 spaces, kind of for the same design. So
It's gonna be the planning and design of, because
Yeah,
the
planning and
planning's gonna
design.
have to be the study of
Yeah.
what's even feasible, if it is feasible.
Mhm.
And they can design anything you want out there to address snow loads and so
Mhm.
forth, and try and figure out the wind and the snow drift
Mhm.
and.
more than anything, I just want to find out how much this costs.
Yeah.
Okay, so that we actually know what the actual number is before we move forward with anything. So speculation right now is just kind of squashing it. It's like, it costs too much. Well,
Who
how
knows?
much is too much? And let's get that number, because I really think that it would be value added to our customers and improve their travel experience as they come through our airport. So, okay. Any other questions? I got a motion and I got a second for the request for qualifications for 100 to make 100 space covered parking and roll
At
call.
least 100 spaces.
At least 100 spaces. Roll call vote, please.
Engen,
Aye.
Cosgrove,
Aye.
Capitan,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. And then we were moving the parking plaza. Do you want to have a separate study to feasibility to move the parking plaza location? Do I have any
I
motion
think that-
on that?
Quick question for Sean. Is that something in our contracts with Mead and Hunt and SB Plus that they could work on without us having to go out for bid?
Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that. So
Do we have to vote on this? Oh, we do have to vote on this.
a study? Or would it just be
Yeah, they're gonna
additional
have to put
services?
together a document like what you just approved today, for the terminal area study and the security study. They'll have to put something together to compensate them for their time to study that, the traffic flow and
Mhm.
locations, the spaces. I mean, there's some civil engineering work that'll need to be done, and work with SB Plus to figure out traffic flow in the lot. There's a lot of work that has to be done there. What that's gonna cost, I have no idea. So that's gonna delay the Expo Plaza, but now's the time to do it, so. So Jeff will work on a contract
We'll get
to
something
do that.
together, concepts, and, estimated costs, that
Okay.
type of thing.
Yep.
Good.
Do we need a roll call vote for this?
You can if you'd like.
If it's, I'll remove my motion if we can just do it within contract, the current contracts that we have.
Sure.
Okay. Any discussion, any opposition to just having it in the current contract that we already have? Nothing heard. There you go.
All right, we're on it.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Item 11, receive request from the Cass County Electric for utility easement.
So Brett Hodgson at Cass County Electric sent a draft of a right-of-way easement for Cass County Electric to provide power to a lift station that the city of Fargo's in the process of constructing on Drain 10 north of the airport around 52nd Avenue North. They need to get power there. It'll be underground power. The city's given them a location that was on the map that was provided in your packet, and I guess I don't know if Stacy's had time to look through the draft that they provided us, but I would request your approval of their easement request.
Mr. Chair, motion.
This is Stacy. I have reviewed it. I may have an additional sentence or two, so I would say approval subject to any additional language I would suggest. And it literally is like one sentence.
That's fine.
Okay. I have a motion
Motion
from,
subject to.
thank you. Any seconds?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call. Any discussion about the easement? Roll call vote.
Engen,
Aye.
Cosgrove,
Aye.
Capitan,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. Item 12, discuss award of the management service provider for the IT services.
Okay, some time ago, I think at the last meeting, we received all of the proposals for managed IT services. The scoring sheet was provided to you. Darren's been working on this with the vendors along with some folks from the city IT department, and a lot of good qualified firms here in town once again, but I guess we're interested in what you see as the one that rises to the top that we would work with. Darren and I have some ideas, but we'll kind of see what your scoring sheets prove out to be as you went through each proposal.
Okay, can I get a motion and a second to open discussion on the floor?
I move to open discussion on the floor for the IT contract.
Thank you, and let's start discussion. Tammy, how about you start it off?
As you know, going through these is kind of an arduous. One of the things that I clarified with Darren yesterday was, like for S&L, this is not to, they had about $39,000 in equipment, and that's not what this proposal was for. So automatically, when you looked at all the when you looked at all the proposals, you know, that's good to have in there, but it kind of threw me off at the beginning. So I automatically went back to our proposal, and I was very specific. So the one thing that I looked at was also not just the monthly costs, the ongoing costs, but the you know, their access to remote, their cost per hour if we are to contact them after hours, the amount of meetings, the references, and basically that my top three were Network Center, S&L Computer Services, and Network Technologies. Now, one of the things about Network Center was that, and I brought this up to Darren yesterday, that they hadn't included phones in there, but they included their provider of the phone. So it was an assumption that they knew they were going to work on the phones with us. The other thing that they charge per hour 130 to 100, they charge, Network Center was higher, but what I liked per hour, they charge a higher amount, but they give us 3 hours of support every month. And the others did not specifically say that. And so I think that's the other thing in talking to Darren, you know, I was all up in arms. I'm like, oh, what if something happens on the weekend? He goes, Tammy, usually things don't happen on the weekends. And our system is such that it's not connected to the airlines. It's not, so for us, the immediacy of paying, like with Networks System, $390 per hour is very limited. Anyway, so one of the things Network Center, they had, their onboarding for labor was only $2,000. They had, like I said, 3 hours of support per month, and their monthly cost was about $1,143. So I'm really pretty open to it. There were some that I really, you know, they were all good proposals. There were some that, you know, I don't know, that, the one thing about S&L, the one thing about the Network Center too that I liked, a couple of them, Network Center, Network Technologies, they were very specific in how to triage problems. In other words, they would give you the time. Okay, this is if it's an urgent, this is how much time it would take us to get there or do the remote. So anyway, that was just kind of my oversight. You guys.
I guess in the spirit of automation, I think all of them can meet the minimum requirements. The fact that some added dollar values to it, I just look at the dollar values. I think S&L, Network Center, and High Point, it would be, my opinion, it would be S&L, Network Center, High Point, the last two were tied, but S&L would be the predominant provider.
Okay, Mr. Captain, do you have any comments?
No.
Mr. Cosgrove?
Mr. Chairman, I've had the opportunity to work with several of the providers here. They all charge a little bit differently. I would at this point defer to Sean and his staff as to their recommendation, and that's one of the things we do in a request for proposals there is does not necessarily have to be low bid. These are always hard to have direct comparisons of costs. And Tammy, I do agree, some including hardware and some not. So a little confusing, but Sean and Darren, I guess I would ask for your recommendation as you work through these and who you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I think we're ignoring anything to do with hardware.
Yeah,
That wasn't what the request for proposals was about, so if you see anything with hardware, we're completely ignoring that. We're just looking at the qualifications of the firm to provide that. And I don't know, Darren, I think, S&L Network Center, High Point, as Rick said, are good. We have a lot of experience with S&L. So I don't know, Darren is the one that is 99% engaged with these folks and has to have a level of confidence with who he's gonna work with. And you could flip a coin between S&L and Network Center as far as I'm concerned from there. So I don't know, Darren, do you have a preference one way or another?
Either one.
Okay.
I would say if you chose S&L, one of the things that I noted on the reporting capabilities, they put quarterly, Network Center does monthly, but I'm sure S&L can do monthly reporting capabilities. So those were some of the things that I looked at too that were, and again, these were just, they were almost tied, so. With S&L, what I would ask as well is if you choose S&L, have them, I would feel really comfortable if they gave you, like some of the other documents did, if this is a system failure at this, and they gave you different scaling, how much time they would take, 20 minutes, an hour, this is the response time if it's in the red zone, 20 minutes. And because I ranked Network Center and Network Technologies pretty much the highest there. So, and it's just that they didn't include it, but you work with them and you know how capable they are and how responsive they are. So I don't have any problem
with
either way.
We have had a relationship with S&L for a number of years now with our Wi-Fi, and anytime we have an issue, they're on it right away. So,
Yeah.
we have no complaints about S&L.
Good.
But like I said, they're all good firms, so.
Okay. I also reviewed it, and S&L was my highest, and then Network Center was my second one.
Good.
So, and I agree, it was all over the place with people. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, just a suggestion in the future is you can put limitations on the number of pages in your RFPs.
Yes. Yes, good job.
There's a lot of fluff within those, and the only thing I'll tell you in working with companies that have gone from kind of in-house systems to managed systems with outside providers, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but you have to change the behavior of employees. That if they're used to just, if they have a problem picking up the phone and calling somebody, there needs to be controls put in place that not everybody is directly accessed to this. It does seem to work best if there's a single point of contact within the organization that then interfaces with the service provider. So,
Okay. Thank you for your input.
You can start to run up bills you don't realize you're getting into there.
Sure. Okay, so are we accepting S&L as the provider? Can I get a roll call vote?
I agree with Commissioner Cosgrove.
Okay.
Board Member Cosgrove, that we should defer. The exercise was good, and I think we have a consensus. So, but I would defer to Sean and Darren.
S&L is fine with us.
Okay. Do we have to have vote on this?
Yes.
Okay.
I would move that we accept S&L as the vendor for working with services, technology services for the Municipal Airport Authority.
Okay.
And second.
And roll call vote, please.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan. Aye. Lynn.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye. Last page, page 3. Moving on, 13, authorized travel to the ARF Working Group Conference, August 29th through September 1st in St. Louis.
We have a request from Assistant Chief and Training Officer Chad Noyes on behalf of Chief Bush for them to attend the conference August 29th through September 1st, St. Louis, Missouri. It's a good conference, so I think Chief Bush, I don't know if you have anything to add. You're on.
Nothing to add. It's just a great opportunity for some of the new guys to network, and it's a really good information exchange.
Okay, a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
And a roll call vote. Any discussion on the floor? Excuse me? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan. Aye. Lynn.
Tammy?
Tammy, just authorizing attendance at a conference.
Yes.
Lynn.
Aye. Tammy is a yes. Okay. There we go. All right. Item 14, authorized travel to AAAE National Airport Conference, September 26th through 28th in Savannah, Georgia. And Allegiant Air Conference, September 28th through 30th in Las Vegas.
So this conference was postponed from last year to be in Savannah, so I'm on the National Air Service and Economic Development Committee. So we meet down there on the 27th, and then of course there's other topics that'll be on that agenda. And then Allegiant scheduled their annual conference at basically the same time. So a bunch of us will be departing Savannah for Las Vegas for the Allegiant conference, where we get our annual report, our annual one-on-one with both marketing and air service development. So one, they tell you how you're doing as a market, and then the other thing is they kind of let you know what other markets that they're looking at for Fargo. So.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the floor? Roll call vote.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan. Aye. Lynn.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. Item 15, received draft of employee policy manual. Tammy, you're up to
All
bat.
right. Well, you guys have this, and I reviewed the City of Fargo as well as 5 other airport manuals, and it was a real interesting endeavor. And after reviewing those and having my spreadsheets, what I decided to do was take Pro Resources manual and use that as a skeleton, and then add things that were in the City of Fargo's manual that were pertinent, and then also the manuals for the airports. The manual for the City of Fargo is about 165 pages. A lot of it is very good for city directed, but some of it was not, there was a lot that was not needed. But there was also a lot of information that you will see in this that I picked up from airport employee manuals. And so I'm not gonna go through, but just as a quick little thing, if you see the yellow highlights, those are after, all the yellow highlights are, I've put in, like say page 10, that's after reviewing manuals from airports. This was all different than the cities. If you see a green highlight, like on page 9, green highlights, those used by Pro Resources Manual, but may be reconsidered and deleted, such as overtime, because the situation at the airport is different. So that's a point of discussion. You guys can see this, and I'm sure I've missed something. Use of vehicles was different when it came to the airports versus the cities. So if you look at page, and by the way, the typical city, if an airport was overseen by a city, the manual's about 140 to 165 pages versus the ones that are run by by an airport authority. So here, as an example, page 22, jury duty, if it's in green, and witness duty this is Pro Resources. But after looking at the other manuals, one of the things that they didn't have was witness duty in there. And I took it out, but that might be something we take back in. Use of equipment and vehicles was different. I think the one thing, and I can't remember if we added it, and maybe Ashley wasn't here, did we add the tuition reimbursement? We haven't added it yet. Okay. Yeah. The tuition reimbursement that's in the City of Fargo, that would be something that I'd suggest adding, as well as there is, and I don't think we got this added, human trafficking. And I'll pull that verbiage. I did not put that, but human trafficking, after talking with some of the staff here, I think that would be an important point to put a notation about the human trafficking and the employee's responsibility, and it's very specific the way it's worded in the other manuals. So I'll pull that, but human trafficking is an issue that I think looking forward we do need to look at. All the yellows, if you see, some of them are really interesting, like fraud reporting. Everything on page 32 on, there was quite a bit that 32, 33, 34, I added all those as all three of the other airports that were run by it. Really all the airports had some sort of verbiage in there regarding drug testing, alcohol use, and policy use, and that was not in this specific wording for airports.
The only thing I might add on that is that you do require a commercial driver's license for our equipment operators. So
Okay.
you do have to have some form of a random drug testing program in place because of the commercial driver's license requirement.
So maybe that's something we could put in. Now, kind of going back to what John, when we were looking at the other policy Cosgrove had done, instead of miring all the details, like in the forms that he had provided, we put them as addendums. So these were just to try to make them, because these were things that were not in the pro resources, or they were in the City of Fargo employee manual. They were much more in depth in actually insurance sections. So what I did was just take this and put them in addendums. Now, addendum 3, retirement addendum. The authority will match contributions. I didn't know what that was, but this was not in the City of Fargo manual, so I added that. And also this, addendum 4, annual leave, vacation leave, this is different than the City of Fargo's. So I wanted to just make sure we mirrored, or no, is it different? I can't remember. Anyway, I added this because it was needed, and I didn't want to put it back in the regular manual. Oh yeah, because we've got ARF, and I just pulled these out of the City of Fargo manual and put them as addendums because at the back, so they wouldn't just take up so much space. So all that is different. It's just added as an addendum, all right? And that's pretty much it.
The one thing that, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
The one thing that I would suggest is on that, on number 10, your employee training and meal expenses, when you talk about per diem rates, you're going with the GSA type thing, which is much harder. The state has a state law as to what per diem rates should be, and I would suggest following the state.
I think I looked at the state law, and maybe I didn't, because what page is that on?
Well, according to this, you're going strictly by GSA rates, which are much higher than the state.
And you know what? And that's a really good point. I picked up the GSA rates from all the other airports. Everybody used the GSA rates. But if that's not a problem, I just didn't know.
All the other entities around here have to use the state rates.
Okay.
Unless you're out of state, then you go by the GSA rate.
You know what? The other thing I was thinking with the other airports, because we are guided by the FAA, I didn't know if the FAA had some requirements.
I think that would be all local decision.
Okay. So maybe you want to bring forward that addendum, you just bring that language.
I can look that up, see
Okay.
what that is. You know, what we've always done is, when I was working with FEMA on the state, we followed the state rates as long as you were in state. You're out of state, you go by GSA rates.
Yeah.
Okay, good. The other thing was seniority.
Okay.
Longevity?
Longevity, is there, are we missing that?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Sean sent it, so that's.
perfect, so we can add that to it. So we'll add the seniority. I'll pull the stuff from human trafficking. Tuition reimbursement we've got going. Commercial drivers, Sean, maybe you could find that spot and put that in? Or email it to Pro Resources?
I guess I'd probably defer to Chris and them, what's required when you have employees, just on our airfield maintenance staff that require a CDL. What's an employer required to do in terms of drug testing?
Sure, and some of that can be put just in a job description, I don't know if we need it in that.
They do.
I know.
Yeah, it is in their job description,
Okay.
but I don't know that it says that they're subject to
Yeah.
random drug testing or I guess we'd have to look. So you would prefer to handle that in the job description? If it's a CDL, the feds require random drug testing, it would be addressed in the job description, not in the employee policy manual.
I think that's the way it was because I remember one of the manuals actually gave all the job descriptions as well, and I think it was addressed in the job description in one of the other airports. But
Yeah,
I don't know, every airline I've worked for has had it in the employee manual too, so as an FAA entity, so
Yeah, that's fine.
I would prefer that it would be in the employee manual as a catch-all, so.
good.
so this is gonna be an ongoing living document. The goal today was to introduce it to you, get a chance to take a look at it. And then, as Tammy had mentioned, and thanks for your hard work on this, Tammy, she spent an incredible number of hours putting this together. Once Jordan kind of did some tweaking, I did some tweaking, and then the format of his office, Tammy graciously accepted the task to get it properly formatted and do some research. But my goal would be at the next meetings is for each meeting we spend up to a half hour, maybe just going through and approving section by section. So it will wipe out, the first 10 pages at the next meeting and then do the next 10, whatever it is. So we take a little bite at the time to make sure that what we're including in here, one, is required or is relevant and necessary. Are there things that we should have in here that are required? What's the minimum items? And I think you've already addressed that in your interaction with Tammy and Pro Resources. So it's a starting place. And we'll get this in the hands of our employees as the drafts come through. With draft one, we don't want to try and confuse them, but as we get a little bit more solid in what we're proposing, between Andrew and Dan, we'll get it out to the staff so they have an idea of what to expect.
Okay. Thank you for the tremendous amount of effort you've put into this. Thankfully, we're not paying Tammy by the hour.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. In fact, she doesn't
You
get
can
paid
double my pay. Double zero.
I agree. Okay, so moving on to item 16, receive update for the capital improvement plan.
All right, so Jeff and I had a conference call with the State Aeronautics Commission and our federal contacts out in Bismarck to update the 2022 CIP so that they have an idea of what our priority project will be for their fiscal year, our calendar year 2022. And what you have before you is the projects that we came up with. Some that you'll see in 2022 are things that we've talked about in the past, adding a glycol pump station onto the cargo apron so that the large 200-some thousand gallon underground container up there, we have a place to dispose of and properly treat any de-icing runoff. The security access control system we talked about earlier today, parking lot exit plaza. So what you can see there are projects that we've talked about here that we have told the FAA and the state that we'd like to move forward with. The biggest one being the first phase of the terminal apron reconstruction project out here. So the ramp just north of the terminal building is original from, I suppose it was poured in 1985 era when the terminal opened in 86. That's at the end of its useful life, has been for some time, and Jeff will be putting forth a design contract to get that up to the point where we open bids for phase one of that. So that's estimated at $7 million. As we go forward in this document, what we really concentrate on is 3 years. Anything beyond that is just kind of a placeholder for things. You'll see the walkway construction on there in 2025. Don't know if that'll ever happen, but we're just looking at the 3-year time period. Anything else that's on here is just kind of placeholder for other projects that we know we're going to have to be doing at some point in the future, if it's a runway extension or additional snow removal equipment acquisition, taxiway delta reconstruction, and so forth. So some of these projects on here, as we note in the remarks on there, we hope to be funded through our CARES development addendum that we will be doing. As you're aware, we received a $21.6 million CARES grant. The FA advised us to stop drawing down on that grant here 3 months ago, 3 months ago, to save those funds for these types of projects, development addendum projects. The second grant that we received under Carissa was about $3.6 million. We've been drawing down the daily operations and maintenance expenses from that grant. And then we just signed for, we haven't got the grant yet, but we just signed an Arpa grant that was awarded for a little over $6.1 million, which is much like the Carissa and CARES grant, with the exception that the Carissa grant and the Arpa grant, you cannot do development addendums. Okay, so just CARES is what we're holding for to recover some other expenses. But I don't know if you have any questions on what we've listed there. Everything that's on here is what we've talked about as a board through our master planning and so forth, as these CIP discussions take place each year about this time. And then once the FA gets it locked in, the discretionary dollars that you'll see on here that we're looking for, the funding shortfall, are the discretionary funds at the FA between Bismarck and Minneapolis will hopefully be going forth and trying to recover for us if possible. So the only other thing I'll mention is the terminal apron reconstruction with glycol capture and disposal, the phase 1 west side. We deferred our entitlements for this fiscal year. So we're going to combine those with our entitlements from next fiscal year, which should be, the total should be around the 7.1 million range. That should be more than enough to take care of phase 1 of the terminal reconstruction. And there's going to be a lot of planning and coordinating with the airlines for that, because it will take gates out of service. We'll be doing some ground boarding starting next spring, summer, if this plan comes to be. And we have a lot of work to do with the carriers to get that done. So I guess your concurrence of this, or we can do a roll call vote, however you want to do. Jeff, is there anything else to add that I'm missing?
Not that I can think of offhand.
Sean, on your ramp here, the terminal ramp or aircraft ramp, does that include any expansion? Are you going to expand it at all, or
The hard stand area?
Yeah, this doesn't include any expansion. The expansion consideration will be in the passenger terminal area study that you approved this morning.
Okay.
There will be expansion of that apron if the project that is selected, or the concept that is decided upon in the terminal area study, is to add on to the east of the terminal. There will be a proportionate add-on of apron to the north of that east expansion. So that would be handled in there, Jim.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
We try and keep a war chest for the unknown, and seeing this makes me wonder if it shouldn't even be bigger. Whatever we have in the bank is absorbed and gone through 2023 in projects.
Yes, we have a lot of stuff on the docket.
I did provide this to Mike Redlinger, and I think Commissioner Strand, I don't know if he's still on there, so I don't know if the mayor, I think he was provided a copy of this, so this kind of goes towards our justification for the ongoing annual 2 mill levy that we have there, and the 2 mills won't really come close to what our local share is on here. So we use all of the mill levy for capital projects. It doesn't go to day-to-day operations. So hopefully this sheds some light on our reason for the mill levy request each year.
Sure. Thank you for putting all that together. I looked at it. It was very well organized, and then it makes it very easy for all of us to look at it and say, this is what's happening. I think that if everybody should understand where the dollars are going and what project is most important. So, and then we throw my agenda in like I did today. I apologize, but anyway, that's how we make progress. So,
Motion to approve that?
Yeah, let's get a motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion to approve the capital
that.
improvement plan.
Yep, capital improvement.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan. Aye. Lynn.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye. Thank you. 2 more to go here. Item 17, receive communication from PFM Payment Solutions regarding the purchase card.
So as we start our transition in January, someone at the city had their payment solution program provider provide us a copy of their program. So right now we have a purchasing card that through the city of Fargo and through the Bank of Montreal that's managed by PFM. This is their program that we qualify for if we want to continue with the same card purchasing card that we're using right now, effective on January 1st. I don't know, it seems to make sense to me. It seems like a pretty good program. There may be others out there, I'm not sure, but this has worked well for us in the city for a number of years, and there's a pretty significant rebate that is provided by them, which is noted on page 3 of the information that was provided in your package. So if you want to make that decision today, you certainly can. If not, we can hold this for a later date, but I think we've had pretty good luck with PFM and that Bank of Montreal program.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
And Sean, are we still able, and does the city benefit if this is done like in unison? Or does the city benefit, do we benefit if we have some sort of a partnership as this progresses or not?
Well, on page 3, when you look at the reimbursement amounts, the annual net purchasing volume, I suppose if you combine airport purchases with the city purchases, you're probably more apt to get to one of those higher categories, and therefore the net rebate is slightly higher at each of those thresholds. There could be a benefit to that. I'd have to talk with Kent Costin or Jenica Flanagan, whoever manages that at the city, maybe it's Steve Sprague, to find out if it's even possible to partner with them, since we have different federal tax ID numbers and those things going forward.
But if they could benefit from our purchases flopping on theirs, and we could take advantage of it.
They do.
I would be in favor of
They
that.
do, and our rebate is proportionate to what our purchases are out of each of our accounts. So they do benefit when we use our P card, because that goes towards the total net on these thresholds here to attain those rebate percentages. So if you want to keep with the same program, we can certainly do that. It's worked out well, Joan. I don't know if we've had any issues really per se, but it seems to be pretty timely.
Joan, any comment? Okay.
I guess I'm not sure what other options we have, so.
I don't know, Mr. Cosgriff, are you aware of any different ones out there? I mean, this, like I say, the city did a pretty exhaustive search when they did this way back when, and this is what they had picked.
Yeah, it's, you could do a request for proposals here, but it's at no cost. You'd actually be going the other direction on what they're gonna rebate back to you. I don't, where would the airport land on this chart, if we implemented this? Are we just ballpark, are we mid-range, are we?
Well, each year is a little bit different. Some vendors accept credit cards. Some vendors charge you 3% if you use a credit card. So like Excel Energy, we'd love to pay all of our Excel bills with a credit card. We can certainly do that, but then there's a 3% charge. So what the city had been doing was paying them in $3,000 increments. So they take a $15,000 bill and make 5 credit card transactions to avoid the 3% fee. So the answer to your question is it depends on the year. Some years we have more purchases, but I don't know. I imagine we would probably fit into that $1 million to $2.5 million range.
Yeah,
Some
that's like, not something you probably have to take out and bid them at that point, so. Well, you can look at it each year, but, we're 4 months out the crossover here. So need to get all these things in place.
Yeah, I've had, at least 3 different bankers, even at First International and a couple of others that have stopped up, just looking at our business and trying to understand what we do, and they don't have anything like this. They have a credit card or a business card, but they really don't have a true rebate program, at least the 3 that I'm aware of. So, I don't know, it would seem to me we'd probably run with this for a couple years and see how it goes, and if there's something else that comes up out there, we can certainly bring that to your attention and go from there. But the city hasn't found anything better, so I would think that might answer our question, maybe.
I agree. They already did the legwork on figuring out who it is, and I'm pretty happy with their decision so far. So can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
And any other further discussion on the floor?
My only hope is that we can work with the city and maybe negotiate pairing the transaction so we both get a better rebate, if that's possible.
Yeah.
They benefit and we would benefit, obviously.
Commissioner Strand, would you be potentially in favor of something like that?
You know, I'll certainly help open that door, and anything anybody can do to help each other is worth looking at.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, you know, we always want to be good partners with the city as much as we can. So this is another opportunity for that to happen. So roll call vote, please.
Hagan.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Tran. Appreciate that. Last item here, receive proposal for snow removal equipment and accessories.
Okay, Andrew Holman, our airfield maintenance supervisor, is here. He's not getting grass cut because he's been sitting here at the meeting since 8, so we're doing other things from there. So we're in need of another front-end loader because of the expansion of the cargo apron. We have 17 more acres of concrete to clear snow with, and a lot of demands for that, which is going to require some additional full-time seasonal staff this winter. And what Andrew did is he went out to the 3 vendors here, RDO, Titan, and Butler, and obtained the 3 proposals for one large front-end loader that we'll be using obviously for snow removal. And what the vendors did here, since it's proprietary, so if we do an RFP, you know, only RDO is going to respond because this is their territory. Titan's going to respond because this is their case territory, and of course Butler, they're the only one if you want a cat bid in this area. Ziegler from Minneapolis can't come into this territory or any other John Deere dealer. So what they've done is they provided us either their state bid and or their source well bid. You can see on the proposals received, like from Butler, and plus they did an additional local discount. But as it sits right now, and Andrew can speak to this here, we've had 2 John Deere loaders since 2003 or 4, have worked well. Employees seem to like them extremely well. They've got, I think they'll have a good resale value. We aren't trading anything in at this point. Next year we'll probably come to you to replace the small loader and get another larger loader, but that'll be determined next year. But at this point here, I think we're comfortable going and recommending to you the purchase of the John Deere from RDO. They were the lowest cost. They've got a good warranty that's on there as well. And the cab is multifunctional. It has a steering wheel and it has a joystick. Is that correct, Andrew?
Yeah.
So if you have operators that feel a bit more relaxed working with the joystick, operational control, it's got both. Where the Caterpillar that's on here was completely joystick. There was no steering wheel. And of course the Titan unit was there. These all meet the Buy American requirement. We do intend to get reimbursed through CARES, whether it's a development addendum or one of the other grants that we do have available. So anything to add, Andrew? Andrew's here if you have any questions. They did demo these.
We demoed them, you know. We didn't get to demo the case, they didn't have one available, but we demoed the other 2, or very light machines, so.
These are specialized in that they have the snow tires on them?
Yep, these are the largest machine with the snow tires, so it'll actually outpower the next size up in terms of pushing snow.
Another thing to consider is like-kind parts and service, and when you have to warehouse and keep all the logistics and the training and all that stuff for working on different kinds of things, it becomes more logistically difficult and more expensive. So
we use a real different coupler system, like a Pinto hitch, which nobody else uses. So when we have attachments that go onto these, whether it's a snowplow or a push dozer or a bucket, we use a different hitch that a lot of people don't use, and these are all coupled with that. We're also getting a snow bucket and then forks, some forks, because we do a lot of lifting of different pallets and different things over there as well. So the only thing that this doesn't include that we'll bring back to you at the next meeting is the snow attachment for this. And the reason that we're delayed on that is the staff has been looking at a new plow that MB has out there that's called a cupping plow. So you take a straight across snow blade, but it cups on the ends. You can control the ends, whether it's 5 or 7 feet. Some airports have had a lot of good luck with that, working around boarding bridges or radiuses out on the airfield. It's about $84,000 for that cupping plow. We're not quite sure on that, or we might go back to just a standard box dozer that you see they use at the Dome or West Acres or other areas. We've got those here as well. So that'll be a decision that we'll probably bring before you at the next meeting as far as the actual snow attachment for the unit. We don't have that information yet.
I always like when the snow falls off the outside of the plow on the outside of the turn. That's my favorite. I have to go back and get it later.
You know,
So,
I think I think it's just amazing. Most people would not realize, they'll think, well, just plow it. No, they don't realize, you know, the runways, everything that goes into that. So.
How many acres do we have now?
Oh, God, Jeff probably answered a little better than I can.
A whole lot.
Well, we were 200 acres before
Yeah.
the ramp expansion.
Wow,
I had actually figured it out at the time, so I just don't recall.
that's amazing.
Mr.
I
Chisholm?
move the recommendation.
Thank you.
Second.
RDO?
Good.
Second. Any other discussion on the floor? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Another question.
Go ahead.
It does show trade-ins on the quotes there, so we are not trading things in?
We're not going to because we're going to keep the 2 units that we have. We just did that as kind of an option to see what they were worth. However, what we've decided is that when we do next year decide to, I guess, replace the small John Deere loader, is we've had really good luck with Steffes equipment and their online auction, and we've generated a significant amount more money than what we can get on trade-in. Obviously, the dealer's going to give you X, they're going to sell it for X more. We're getting that price through Steffes right now. We've had really good luck with that. So no trade-ins.
I was curious there, and had them on the quote, so.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Oscar.
Aye.
Captain. Aye. Larry.
Aye.
Larry.
Aye. Okay, we are, I have one more question. Do we have any representation from the International Guard today?
Yes, the chief mayor, speaking for the ops group.
Okay, just wanted to give you an opportunity to give us any updates that you have.
Sure. Just a quick update on the 24th of this month. We'll be doing a groundbreaking for the Consolidated Operations Building. It should be about a 2-ish year project, but that'll happen on the 24th. And then a couple of safety awards we just got recently. Awarded the John Pesh Fight Safety Trophy. So this is our 3rd win in 4 years. And this is the only MK9 unit that has ever received this award, as well as the Williams Screw-On Safety Award, which again is the first MK9 unit ever to win this award. So just a couple of highlights over on the safety front for the operations group.
All right, thank you. Just to go back to that Milcon project for the groundbreaking in August, there are only 4 Milcon projects awarded to the National Guard in the entire United States, and the Fargo Air National Guard got one this year, 1 of 4. So that's a huge thing, and they got it a year ahead of time. So I just wanted you to understand what our partners are doing. You know, the Air National Guard is a wonderful tenant for us, and they have gotten some huge awards and some big construction coming their way as well. So I just wanted to give them an opportunity to let everybody know what's going on. So
Great.
anything else, Chief?
That's all I had. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for sticking with us here. This is a long meeting. And any other questions?
It was unusual. So I got just a couple of things. So I saw Jeff from Frontier Airlines was on there. Jeff Delonde, the properties person that you must have dropped off. So I was going to thank him for their announcement of adding Orlando service here in November, twice a week, and they are going to keep the Denver service online as well. I think we'll see a lot more out of Frontier in the not too distant future. July 2021 was our 2nd busiest July on record, so our traffic is coming back substantially. I think we're just around 1,000 less than the all-time record, thereabouts, which is a good sign. So we've got Pro Landscaping with Jim Hansen, our landscape design architect, Pro Landscapers, who had the contract for the Army National Guard Operational Center that's being constructed up on County 20. We're responsible for the shelter belts on each side of the entrance into that facility. We made a commitment to them when they picked that location to improve the shelter belt. So Jim has been working on that with Tony Peterson from Cass County Soil Conservation Service to remove trees, add trees. Some are going in this fall, some are next spring, but Pro Landscaping is going to go through and re-contour and for the drainage up there, because it doesn't drain real well. They'll be getting that done here soon. The grand opening for that facility is August 24th. It kind of coincides with the groundbreaking for the Air National Guard facility that was mentioned here a little while ago. We'll get that information out to you once we know times and so forth. Let's see. I think that's all that we have right now. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, just one thing here is, as we approach, like I said, we're down to under 150 days to cross over. We were going to sort of track what were one-time expenses as we transition away from the City of Fargo services. So what's one-time expenses and what are going to be the monthly or recurring expenses as we make that transition. Just wondering in the next agenda if we can have a report on where we stand on that and what it looks like for the remaining services that we may need.
Okay. Sean's writing it down, so I assume he's on it. Anything
All
else?
right, thank you.
All right. Anything else? Meeting adjourned.